the channel, everyone. This is G giving you a little bit of an overview of the final mountain stage of the 2022 Giro d'Italia. This is going to be a very intense and hopefully exciting mountain stage in what many people consider the most beautiful mountain range in the world, the Dolomites. The Dolomites are technically a part of the Alps, the Eastern Alps, but they're incredibly dramatic, sheer limestone mountains, and they have this sort of kind of a little more square tower-like quality as opposed to a lot of the classic pyramid shape mountains, which you see vistas like that as well. But the Dolomites just have an incredibly dramatic quality to them, pretty much in a 360-degree view in most areas. I remember discussing someone from Switzerland talking about how much they like the Dolomites. They say the Swiss Alps are beautiful. They're beautiful 180 degrees. The Dolomites are beautiful 360 degrees. So, I mean, depending on preference, people could argue. I've been to the Swiss Alps. I love it there. French Alps are wonderful. Spanish and French Pyrenees, amazing, totally beautiful. But the Dolomites really do kind of take the cake in terms of drama. I remember the one time I went there, I was thinking you could easily hurt your neck just like staring up just at these sheer walls of amazing limestone rock, and also really beautiful green valleys too. It's not just the high points, the alpine meadow and all the buildings and the sort of the Swiss and Austrian influence of the way the villages look. It's really something else there. So the stage tackles 3 big passes in the Dolomites, and it goes to pretty high altitude. So they're doing the San Pellegrino, which is very long, but also has some very steep sections. They're doing the Pordoi, which is the highest pass, I think the highest pass of the whole race. I've ridden the Pordoi. The Pordoi has 38 switchbacks, at least on the side that I rode it, and it's a really nice, like 6% grade. So it's not the hardest or craziest climb, but it's one of the nicest climbs that you can do in Europe if you love switchbacks, if you like to be able to not have to constantly grind on the pedals like on climbs that are more 8, 9, 10% average. But it does go to pretty high altitude, almost 2,300 meters, so it's above 7,000 feet. And then the final climb that they're doing is the Passo Fadaya, or what they call the Marmolada. I think there's a lake area on top called Marmolada. And I fell in love with the Giro d'Italia watching the video VHS tape of Marco Pantani winning the 98 Giro, and he took over the pink jersey on the stage. It didn't finish on top, but the last climb was the Fadaya, and then they descended down into the ski resort village, and he took the pink jersey that day and continued to defend it, and then went on to win the Tour de France with an epic high mountain raid over the Galibier, which is one of the few French passes that tend to be as high as the Dolomites. Even though it's early in the season, the Giro often is going to much higher altitudes than the typical Tour de France pass, which the high passes in the Tour, they do go up to 8 and 9 occasionally, but usually they're sticking around 6, maybe 7, and so we're seeing some quite high altitude, which is going to affect the racers. The stage to Blockhouse was definitely a beast. I did a video about that a week or 2 ago, and it was an exciting stage as well. Unfortunately, Bardet, who did really well, had to pull out with illness. Jai Hindley won the stage, and he is now poised to potentially win the Giro, 3 seconds behind Carapaz. I don't think he time trials as well as him, but this stage, given the severity of the finish, the altitude, it's going to rain, there's going to be harsh weather, which makes the descents intense, and the steepness of the Marmolada, the hardest climb of the day, even though it's not the longest or the highest, the Marmolada is just incredibly steep. I was in this area once, and I did a 5-pass loop that included the Pordoi. It also included the Sella, which was really amazing, Passo Gardena, and I did Passo Falzargo from both sides, so I ended up doing 5 passes, but one of them was the same at the loop. It was like a kind of a big lasso that brought me back to the town of Cortina. The backside of the Falzargo was the favorite of all of the passes, even though they were all beautiful. Maybe because I was finally feeling a good rhythm. There was a lot of wind in the middle of it, and I was a little unsure of how the ride would go that day, and I felt strong at the end, which was great, but it was also just really, really beautiful. It was the most quiet of the passes. Some of the more famous passes in the Dolomites have a lot of tour buses, they have a lot of hairpins, they have a lot of motorcyclists. The hairpins I like, the busyness of it, not so much. So whereas I'll tell you that the Dolomites are the most beautiful mountains in Europe, the Pyrenees, for instance, is going to be a lot quieter. The Apennines, like where Blockhouse is going to be a lot quieter, or the more like less trendy parts of the Alps. You're just going to find more peaceful roads. But I don't want to discourage you from going. I just want to give you proper expectation. If you go ride the Stelvio, if you go ride in the Dolomites, there's going to be more busyness, and the areas tend to be kind of ski resort places, so they're expensive. But manage expectations, still go if you really want to go. I highly recommend it. And you might find, like I did, that you fall in love with the road that is less famous or not famous at all. The Fedaya is very beautiful looking, but I haven't ridden it. It was near the area I was in. It's very straight for a lot of it. It has some really nice sweeping bends towards the top, but it's straight. It's kind of a wide road. It's steep. There is a side road you can take that takes you through a gorge with waterfalls. That's pretty cool, and I think it's for cyclists and walkers only. But the main road is maybe not the best cycling road, but it is going to provide for very good racing. So the steepness is going to take its toll. The amount of time they've been racing, the weather, the altitude, the finish is at close to 7,000 feet. I think that's going to favor Carapaz, the Ecuadorian, who was born and lived in altitude. He's from a rainy part of South America as well, so he says he thrives in the rain. But anything goes with the 3-second margin, and I think that the 3rd and 4th place person could still potentially win depending on this stage and the time trial. The time trial I don't think is going to be as decisive as this stage. If you miss 100 calorie packet of food and you've got this monster climb with 10-15% gradients at altitude and maybe wind and rain, that could be the difference between winning the Giro and losing minutes, if not 10-15 minutes if you're having a really bad day. So these guys are all very trained, very professional. I won't be surprised if it stays within very tight margins, but it is quite possible for someone to have their bad day on the last mountain day and to lose massive amounts of time. So everything's up in the air in terms of GC. I'm predicting Carapaz will win his 2nd Giro d'Italia, but so long as it's a well-deserved winner and an exciting finish, I think it's going to be great. So looking forward to this stage in the Dolomites. They've done a lot of the north, they've done a lot of the Italian Alps, but they're pretty much just highlighting this one stage in the Dolomites. Sometimes they do 2 or 3, which I think is better since they're such beautiful mountains and have such amazing climbs, but they're definitely making the most of it, and the stage finish on top of the Fedaya will be a noteworthy one. So check it out. Let me know what you think of the stage. Let me know what your predictions are in terms of the finale of this Giro, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you so much for checking in. If you're interested in yoga for cyclists content, I offer that. I lead bicycle tours mainly in California, but also around the world, so check out my website, GabrielBenjaminYoga.com, and I look forward to staying in touch with more product reviews, race reviews, and mostly I do cycling vlogs on this channel. So thank you again, and I will see you soon. Ciao.